Hello everyone, Chris Clamp here again and welcome back to my studio. For those of you that are new to my channel, let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Chris Clamp. I'm an oil painter and I'm a bit of an art world insider. I've worked in commercial art galleries for quite a long time and I've also been a practicing artist. So I've picked up a few tips and tricks along the way that they don't teach you in art school, and I'm delighted to share those with you here on my channel. Today I have an exciting topic to share with you. In previous videos I've discussed a product that you could use to mount your paper or canvas onto a panel. This product is called Beva 371. It's available in a can format, like a bit of a liquid, but not really, more of a paste. And it's also available in a roll. The roll is what I'm most familiar with, and it is what I'm going to demo to you today. So get ready. This is going to be an exciting video. So get comfortable and let's dive in. So today we are going to discuss Beva 371 mounting film. That is the product that I'm familiar with and that I've used and I want to share with you all today. I've received a few questions and hopefully this will answer that. And if not, please leave your comments and questions below in the chat. So Beva 371 film is a product that is available sandwiched between a silicone release paper and a piece of mylar. So when you buy the product, it's going to be available in a roll in which you could then cut it to whatever length and size that you need. I have a size already that I have cut that's ready to go, and we're going to use this today. And we're actually going to work a bit in reverse. I have a panel that is Arches oil paper that I've mounted to a panel several years ago. And this was when I wasn't too familiar with the product. So I had toned the paper like some of us may normally do with our paintings. And the paper is so absorbent, it soaked it in before I was happy. It's darker than I would have preferred. So I've just set it aside. I've never used it. So the beauty of Beva 371 is it's reversible. We're going to take this piece of Arches oil paper off of this panel, and then we're going to attach a very nice piece of linen onto this panel. Several years ago, I purchased a bolt of Art Fix L64C Belgian linen. If any of you have used this product before, it's like the Ferrari of Belgian linen, in my opinion. I prefer a very smooth quality linen. It's considered portrait grade, and many portrait artists love to work on this product. But this stuff is not cheap. So when you buy it, you want to be able to use every bit of it that you can. So whenever I am preparing a canvas or a panel, I will save the scraps that I have left over so I can mount them onto a panel and then use this for small studies or alla prima work or plein air sketches. So that is what we're going to use today. So I've got my table in front of me here. I've got a few supplies that we're going to need: an iron, a hair dryer, and this is an industrial one that belongs to my wife. A heat gun would also be good. And of course, we've got our Beva film and a panel, and we have a scrap piece of linen. I have my panel set up and my iron is good and hot now. So we're ready to try to apply some heat to this to soften the adhesive to remove the paper. Since this is a small panel, this should be pretty easy. The larger a panel we try to use, the more time and care this is going to take. Now I'm going to apply heat evenly across the panel to soften it, but I'm also going to focus on one area first. So I want to make sure that one of the corners is melted a bit more. And now after working with this a few minutes patiently and peeling at it and applying heat where it needs to be reapplied, my paper is pretty much off of this panel. There we go. Little mild abrasions in the back from my palette knife, but not a big deal. And if I needed to frame this, this is in fine condition. And now I have a clean, ready to go 1/4 inch birch panel. So I'm going to clean this up just a little bit more, and then we will apply our linen. This is where our blow dryer comes in handy because I don't want to apply the iron directly onto the panel because there is some adhesive residue left. And I'd like to clean that up just a little bit more. It's not entirely necessary, but just so I don't have any little bumps or anything left over from some paper that we could see here. This is a good time to use the hair dryer to apply some heat and then scrape with our palette knife. And now we have removed the little bits of torn paper that were bothering me. So we now have that old piece of paper off of our panel. We don't need this anymore, but if this were a painting I wanted to keep for whatever reason, this is in good shape and we can pack that and put it in a drawer somewhere or wherever. And we're going to reuse this 1/4 inch birch plywood. Now, before I start to mount the linen, I thought I would briefly talk about the panel. This is a wood panel. And before you work on a wood panel, it's a good idea to seal the panel on all sides. An old type of sealant would be something like rabbit skin glue. But a beautiful product you can get today, which is a synthetic acrylic product, is made by Golden and commonly called GAC 100. You can get it in a bottle, and it's kind of like a synthetic shellac almost. It dries clear, and you can kind of see this has a little bit of a shiny coat to it. Anyway, it will prevent any moisture from penetrating the surface, and it's a good thing to do. Apply it on all sides, not just on the back or the front, so that way it's less prone to warping due to moisture, which might penetrate a side of the panel and cause it to bow. Another product besides the plywood would be ACM, or aluminum composite material. It's a wonderful panel, and it's not going to bend on you over time or anything like that. It's not going to be susceptible to moisture. You may want to rough up the surface before you do any sort of adhesive, just because it's a very smooth surface. You could also do this on an MDF board. I'm a little hesitant with MDF or masonite because it's essentially a fiberboard. It's like wood pulp that's been smushed together with glue under a lot of pressure, and then you get a panel out of it. It's readily available and it's easy to work on, but I've always been a little hesitant. If you ever drop it or bang a corner, it's impossible to repair. Also, if it ever gets wet, it swells, and there's no way to get that back. So anyway, just something to be aware of. Okay, we're back and we are ready to get started. We have our wood panel here. I've got our iron preheating, ready to go. And I went ahead and grabbed a squeegee to help with the smoothing out. And we have our adhesive film, Beva 371. And as I described, the adhesive film is sandwiched between a silicone release paper, which is this white part, and this piece of mylar. Now you won't really be able to see the adhesive because it's on the inside against the mylar. You may be able to see, picking up in the light of the video, that there is a little texture there on the inside. And the silicone release paper is just there as a protective barrier. So we peel that off. Be sure to make note of which side is your adhesive side, but you can kind of tell by feeling it. There is a slight texture on the side where the adhesive is. I've got a piece already cut, as you can see, and I made it a little larger than my panel. Just going to apply that there. We're going to use the iron. Let's turn it down just a little so I don't apply too much heat at first. And apply heat to the back of our Mylar here. Now, you can take the silicone release paper and put it silicone side down, so it's just the paper on the back, and do it this way at this stage, but it may apply too little heat for what we want by doing that and giving it this barrier. But you certainly may do that and apply more heat and just move slowly. But you certainly may apply it to the Mylar in this particular case. Don't lose this, however. We're going to need that. We have our adhesive melted pretty good through the application of heat. I'm going to use this squeegee just to help push it down a little bit more. By using the heat and the squeegee on the film and pressing it in, I'm able to see through this enough to see that it is applied evenly. I don't see any air bubbles. Now this is the moment when you can separate the adhesive from the Mylar. It might be just a little tricky at first just to find an area that is separated. Sometimes I'll get a utility blade just to pick at one area, and it may help. There you go. So what is left now is the adhesive film. We can apply our linen to the top of that, apply heat, and adhere this. What we do is we just center it up. And this is the moment when you can use your silicone release paper on your linen that I find most helpful. You can iron directly to the linen, but what will happen is you will get marks on your linen from the metal of the iron. It will just make it a little unclean, and I prefer it to be very nice and clean as I work. So I will use this piece of paper that was part of our scrap and put the silicone side down. That will be the slick side down, and then apply heat. Now that I've applied heat consistently across my panel, I'm going to use the squeegee just to help press it in a little bit more. I want to make sure that I have a really good bind while it's still hot. It's a good opportunity to push that adhesive and get it into the linen's weave and also into the grain of the wood panel. Now we have our panel with its linen applied, pretty strong and secure. There's an area here I think I might apply a little bit more heat to. Again, silicone side down on that. And just so you all can see what I meant about the iron leaving a mark, I'll show you. See here in this upper corner maybe, there's like this dark color from just the metal of the iron rubbing into it. It's not burning or anything. It's just leaving a mark, which I just like things to be nice and clean, so I prefer that to not be there. Okay, this looks good. So what we want to do now is let this dry. It doesn't have to dry long, just till it's cool to the touch. I'm going to let it dry for about 10 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next step. We have left our panel to sit and cool for about 10 minutes now, and I've actually had a few books weighting it down just to make sure everything kind of cools and sets up in a very consistent way. I wanted to add the strength to it. So I'm removing that book right now, and you can see that our panel looks really good, and we've got the excess around it. So the next set of tools we are going to need is a utility blade. Here's our panel with the linen adhered to it. We gave ourselves a little extra just to give ourselves room for error, which is great because we now want to be able to cut this to be a very clean, tight edge to the panel. So next you would like a utility blade. You can use whatever you're most comfortable with, but I find the most helpful with this next set of tasks is the kind of blade that has some length to it and flexibility. So that way we can press in against it and hold tight to the panel and pull along while keeping it pushed snug against the edge so we get a really good clean edge. And if you're using a blade that is just a little exposed, your knife could be in the way or your hand. And we want to be as close to this as possible to get a really good consistent cut. So I'm going to clean off this excess right now. And as you can see now, we have a perfectly mounted linen panel. This is 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood with Art Fix L64C on this, and we sealed the wood panel with GAC 100 on all sides. That looks very clean and very, very tight and flat. That's going to make a great painting. How exciting is that? We now have our own linen mounted panel that we did ourselves in our own studio, and that is high quality material. That will make a beautiful painting. I've often held on to the silicone release paper. It's proven to be handy for other tasks around the studio. Sometimes you might notice a corner and edge that might need a little bit more heat and pressure to get it flat again. Sometimes whenever I've had it pinched into an easel in a way, that pressure could push a little bit. And sometimes it's helpful if you have something like this on hand and just use your iron again, apply pressure, and it's good to go. One thing about this that you might be thinking offhand is, boy, that took a lot of work. And it is a process. However, if you choose to do this on your own, my suggestion is to do it in bulk. It's really not a big deal, and you can get a beautiful product that you're proud of, that you feel confident in using as well. Here's a little insider information for you in regards to the art world. Like I mentioned in a previous video, quite often works on paper could be difficult to sell when there is a reflection involved. I've seen the reflection on glass on a work of art be an issue when someone was considering buying a painting. That is why it's kind of helpful to know about these other alternatives, such as being able to mount your material. If the material is easy to mount and preserve out from under glass, such as an oil painting on paper, or in our case, a loose piece of linen, which we have now attached to a board. This is going to be perfectly acceptable to put into a floater frame, and you are good to go. Another piece of info I will give you regarding some insider information is the use of this Beva 371 heat activated adhesive film. Not only is this product reversible, as you have just seen, you can take off something or fix an area rather easily if necessary, but there is no water included in this entire process. Quite often, whenever you're using a water-based adhesive, say like acrylic gel medium to adhere something to a panel, the water that you've introduced to your paper can cause the paper to expand and then wrinkle, and it will never sit flat when you're trying to mount it onto a panel. So when you can avoid using a water-based medium to adhere something to a panel or another surface, you're going to have a stronger, flatter hold. And that is why this product is superior to any water-based medium. The last thing that you want is for your gallery to contact you and tell you that there is an issue with a work of art that you have just delivered to them. You want to make sure that you are providing your gallery and your client with a perfectly prepared work of art. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and you found it informative and helpful. This is something that I picked up a few years ago, and at first I was a little confused on how to make it work. And now that I've figured it out and I've used it a few times, I'm so happy to know about these products, and allows me to use these beautiful, precious scraps of portrait grade linen that I have on hand. And that is something I think you all should be able to apply on your end as well. Waste not, want not, as they say. Well, if you all like this video, please hit the like button and leave a comment below. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so as well. I look forward to sharing more videos like this for you in the near future, so stay tuned.